Hello and thank you for coming to Rick's Garage. Today I'm going to start the build of the Honda FVR750R by Tamiya in 1/12 scale. Now I think this is going to be a very interesting build because the cowls are in clear plastic. Okay, so inside the kit we have this side packet here, and this is all clear plastic. I'm not going to take it out because I don't need it yet. I'll wait until I actually need it, but that's all clear plastic, and that's the cowls that are in this packet right here. But we also have some cowls that are in white plastic as well. So this is going to be like a combination of a see-through and standard type of a build. I'm going to paint my clear plastic. I'm not going to keep it as clear. I think what they're trying to do is give you the option of making it clear so you can see the engine details. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to go ahead and paint this up as if it's a regular motorcycle that you would see on the street. So anyway, we have some white sprues, which has a couple of the cowls on there as well. And then we have black sprues. And then we have our wheels and our screws. And unlike the Yamaha Virago I just got through building, these screws are Phillips head and they give us a screwdriver. And it also looks like we have a photo etch mesh to also use. The other thing that I'm going to be adding to this kit, I am going to modify it, and I did buy from Hero Boy this detail upset. Now I'm not going to do the chain on this. A chain does come with it, metal chain construction does come with this. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is, again, buying it from Hero Boy, I'm going to use this resin 3D part, which is specifically made for this kit. And on this, it looks like a real chain. It's got the chain links already in there. It's not completely filled in, so like you have on your stock kit. So there are links in there. So I'm going to be using that on this kit to make the chain look a little bit more realistic, and I will probably also weather that up a little bit. But that's this is the 3D resin part that I bought, and I got that from Hero Boy. Okay, so with all that being said, let's get on with step one. Okay, in step one, they start us off with a lot to do. So this is something you're not going to get done in one day because there's a lot of painting and masking that has to be done, as well as assembling of 5 parts. So I already have all the parts done in terms of taking them off the sprue, and there's those parts right there, and then I have these 2 main parts of the frame right here. I'm going to move these parts over here for a minute, and the way the frame's going to go together is you have this part this way around, and you take this part that way around, and this lug is going to go into that hole. So it's going to go in like that. Okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue mine in right away, so I have some sort of at least a partial solid frame assembly. And then what you're going to do, once that's done, is you're going to take this part right here, and you'll notice that there is a long and a short side to this. You want to make sure that the short side is pointing in that direction, and these 2 lugs at the end that you see are going to go into this slot right here on both sides, here and one on the other side. So this is going to kind of like go in like this. I'm not going to be able to put that in right now because the frame's not totally glued in, but that's how that's going to go in, just like that. And then you have this piece right here, and this piece with it in this way around, looking like that. That's going to go into another slot right up in through here, and there's 2 slots that's going to go into on both sides. So that's going to go up in this area like that. And then finally we have this little tiny part right here, and that's going to go into or onto the lug that's way in the back right there. and these are all painted in different colors. So I'm going to first get this glued and primed, and I'm also going to get these other pieces right here painted in gray primer, and then paint them in the colors that are called for the instructions, and then come back and get this thing assembled. Okay, so this is how your frame should look once it's all been painted up in the three colors that it asks for in the instructions. And it's pretty simple once you actually start studying the instructions. This up in through here, this is X11, which is a chrome silver, and then down in this area here, and over in this area right in through here, this is flat aluminum, or XF10. So you just got to study the instructions to make sure that you mask everything off and paint the areas in the colors that it's asking for. Okay, so next what we need to do is we need to take this part here, which is this part right here, and I've already got the two hoses on there. The two hoses are 28 millimeters each, and this has a lug on it, or a lug hole right here in the back. See if I can't focus this in for you. Right there in the center, and that's going to go over the lug hole, or the lug that's right back here in this area right there. So I'm going to get that in. Okay, so the hoses want to lift that part up off that lug, so I have a paint clamp just holding it down, and I'm going to keep it on there for about a minute or two. Okay, and there's that piece in. Okay, now next we're going to take this piece looking like this. We're going to have it in this way around with this lip right here facing down, and with this lug lip right here. I don't know if the camera can see it or not. Focus that in. With that lip right there going into this slot right there. And then on the other side of that piece are these two lugs, two pin lugs right there, and they're going to go into the two pinholes that are in the back right about in here. I don't know if the camera can see that or not. There are two holes right there. See if I can't do it. Oh, here we go. Right here. Those two holes right there. So I'll get that in. That piece is in, looking like that. And then next we're going to take this piece here, this way around with the short end this way, and it's going to go into the lug here, or the hole here, and one on the other side. And that's how that looks when that's installed. Just like that. Next you want to make sure that you glue these two pieces together up here, the seam right here, and there's also a bar right here in the center, right down there. Make sure those two ends are also glued together. But that's how your frame should be looking at the end of stage one. Okay, in step two, looks like we're going to be starting on the engine, and these pieces right here are these right here. So this is going to be very simple. You take this piece looking like this, and it's just going to match the configuration of this piece right here. This goes on just like that. So we'll get that glued in. Okay, now next we take this piece here, and it's got a large hole and a small hole that's going to go on top of these two lugs here. So this can only go in one way. So with your piece like this, with the arm here facing in this direction, we're just going to plop that right there into place. Just like that. And that's that entire piece now all put together, except for this right here. This is going to be painted in one color, which is going to be a combination of FX56 and X9. So one part of each, and a part for me is going to be an eyedropper. So I'm going to put in 5 drops of FX56 and 9 drops of X9 into my airbrush, mix that up, and put that paint on, put that color on. And then this piece right here is a separate piece, and it's going to be painted in semi-gloss X18, and that's very simple to put in. There's this lug right here, and that's just going to go into the hole that's right back here. So this is going to go in after this piece is painted, and then this is going to get painted separately. So I'm going to get this primed up, painted, and come right back. Okay, here's our engine all painted up in the color that it's asking for in the instructions. Kind of like has a brown and silver type of a color to it, or metallic color to it, because we added two different colors to this. And I don't know if you can see or not, but I also painted in the word Honda right there. I did that in a silver powder, and this is the powder that I used, and I will put a link in the descriptions on where I got this. But this is a little bit of a chrome detailing I did. And then you can also notice that around the perimeter here, I put on some metal caps to simulate the metal bolts that go around it. And that comes from the detail upset that I'm using, that I got, which is this right here from Hero Boy. And again, I'll put a link in the descriptions for this. So that came out really, really well. And the first thing that we need to do after we have all this assembled the way this looks is that this piece right here, which I showed earlier, with this lug, is going to go into the hole right there. So this is going to go on just like this, and it is kind of shaped, so when it goes in you want to make sure that it conforms to the shape around this area here. But that's how that's going to look once that is completely glued in. Now I didn't notice until I put my magnifying glasses on, but this is a half moon shaped lug at the end, as you can see. And that's going to match up to the half moon shaped hole that's right down here. Now there is kind of like a little bit of a lug down in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but in that hole there's like a little ledge that piece, this little lug right here, is going to match up to. So make sure that you put this in right. So with your piece in this direction here, you want to make sure that the flat end of this lug is facing you, and that will then go in just like this. Okay, now next we take this piece here, which I already have a tube connected to it. Now this is 75 millimeters long. And then we have this little piece right here, which also has a tube to it, and this is 65 millimeters long. And we take this piece with a 65 millimeter tube to it, and there is a half moon shaped lug right here. I don't know if the camera can see that or not. And that half moon shaped lug is going to match up to the half moon shaped hole that's right here. Okay, now the instructions are not all that clear, but I believe that this piece, looking like this, has a long lug here and a small little tiny lug right down here at the corner, which is going to match up to the large lug going into this hole here and the small lug going to that hole right there, conforming around this area right here. So if I'm right, this is going to go on like that. So once that's in, that's how that looks, and I believe that's correct. At least it looks correct. Okay, next we take this piece here, and you'll notice that I've also done some detail work on this as well. Again, painted the word Honda in chrome powder, and then put on those silver details around the perimeter. And this has a lug on the back, right there, which is going to match up to the hole that's right here, so we can put it on the right way. So this is going to go on looking like that. And that's how that looks once that's installed. Looking just like that. Okay, next we take this piece here, and there are two decals. One on the top that hopefully you can see, and then also one on the center. There is, right there in the gray area right through here, there is a decal there, but you probably really can't see it. But there is a decal there. It does have words on it, I think, but I have no idea what it says. But anyway, you take this piece, and there is a kind of a lug right here that is going to match up to the notch that's right here. So this is going to go on like that. Okay, and that's how that looks once that's in, and it should fit pretty flush to the engine, just like that. And that completes step 2. Okay, with our engine looking like this at the end of step 2, you can notice that right in this hole right here, there is a half moon shape. That half moon shape is going to match up to this half moon shaped lug right here on this piece, looking like that. And this piece here is going to go onto the engine like this. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to take this piece looking like this, and there is a ledge running along the edge, or the very bottom down here. That is going to line up with the edge running along this hole right here. So this is going to go on like this. Kind of like turn it until it kind of locks itself into place, like that. And then when that is locked in, it's going to automatically align this half moon shape up to the half moon shape hole right here, which is going to then put this in the right position. So let me get this on and show you what this is going to look like. Okay, so when that's in, that's how that should look, just like that. And that's all the way down straight into that hole right here, and that is going to then align this piece all the way up around into the correct position. Okay, now next what we need to do is take this piece here, and that there is a lug on this end right here, and there is a hole right here. That hole is going to match up to that pin that you see here, and the lug is going to go into this part right here. So let me get that on and show you what that looks like. And that's how that looks once that's in, looking just like that. Okay, now there are some hoses that we need to attach on these lugs down here and into this piece here, but I'm going to wait for this to thoroughly dry before I attempt that. Okay, so I ran into a problem, and that's with the hoses that you need to attach. As you can see here, there's a hose, two hoses that run from this part right here into this part here. There's no way to get these hoses on when you have this all attached. So you want to make sure that you get your hoses attached first and then glue your part in after those hoses are on. So that's what I had to do. Fortunately, the glue had not dried, and I was able to take this part off and then attach the hoses here. And there's one way back here that needs to be on, and that hose leads all the way to this lug here way in the back underneath this pipe, and then this hose goes from here all the way into that lug right there. Now there's one more hose that we have to put on, and that's a large hose, and that's going to go onto that center lug right there. Now in this build they give you two different types of hoses. They give you a thick hose and a thin hose. This is the thin hose, or excuse me, this is the thick hose. I'm going to cut this to a 24mm length. I'm going to put it onto that center lug right there. And once you have everything all attached, that's how that all should look when it's all done. Okay, now next we're going to take these two pieces here, parts of the engine, and there is a right or a rear and a front. And the way you can tell them apart is that the front has this detail on this side, and the rear has the same detail on this side. So those two details face each other. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to take our spark plugs, looking like this. We're going to put them into the holes up here on the top. But for the rear, here we're going to also attach two HT leads, or spark plug lines, into two of these plugs here. So let me get that on, come back and show what that all looks like. Okay, and when you have your spark plugs in, that's how they should look. Looking just like that, and angled exactly like that, as indicated in the pictures and the instructions. Now the instructions only ask us to put hoses on the rear. They don't ask us to put hoses on the front spark plugs. But when you take that and you put this together like that, completes step 3. Okay, now next what we need to do is we take our cylinder heads looking like this. This is the rear, this is the front. and take our engine looking like this. And very simply, we just need to take this, put that into that slot there, do the same thing over here to that, and glue them just like that, looking like that. So let me get that glued in and we'll come right back. Okay, now that our cylinder heads are attached, we need to take this piece right here and we put on a thick hose that it calls for, and that's 34 millimeters long, and you just attach it to the end of that piece looking like that. And then this is going to go in, these two lugs right here on each side are going to go into the two holes that you see right down there at the bottom. So I'll get that in. Okay, now this piece right here, it does not snap into place. It just kind of sits there in the holes on each side. So wait for the glue to thoroughly dry before you proceed to the next part of step 4, which is where we install the engine into the frame, because this can easily dislodge itself, I think, as you're trying to get the engine into the frame. Also pay attention to the direction of the tube. When make sure that it's going in this direction. So you see this detail part right here is going toward the back, so it goes into line with this detail part all the way going to the back like that. And you want to make sure also that you got your cylinders on the right side. You know, just follow the instructions, the pictures in the instructions. The spark plug should be going in this direction on both sides. So they're all pointing this way. Okay, now it's time to put our engine into our frame, and the instructions are not clear. They don't say anything about the hoses that are on the frame. So I'm going to guess that they actually need to be out of the way. So I'm going to put mine right like that. Okay, so on the frame you have 4 holes, screw holes. You have 2 screw holes back here, and you have 2 screw holes right here. And those screw holes are going to line up with the engine here and here on both sides. So this is going to go in with your engine looking like this way around. This is going to slip into the frame like this, lining up those holes like that. And we're going to secure that in with 4 1.2 by 4 mil screws. Okay, there's the engine inside or attached to the frame looking like that. And that's also how I have my hoses. I'm pretty sure that if I need to get to these hoses right down here, I can rearrange them easily. I have easy access to them. These hoses are on the outside, so I think the hoses are okay. If I need to get to these hoses here, I think I might be able to also pull those out with a tweezer if they need to come out on this side over here. But that's how they're in the frame right now. But that was pretty simple to do. Again, you got 2 screws on this side, here and here, and then you have the same corresponding screws basically in the same area, here and here. And it was pretty easy to put in. Now in terms of the screw sizes, all the screws that you have in your kit are basically all the same size in terms of small and large. So these screws here, and I'm going to zoom in, these screws here are all the same size. So there, I'm going to say a 1.2 by 4 mil screw. Then you have these 2 larger screws, which I'm going to assume that the instructions are going to call for something larger. And then you have this screw here, which is a screw and a nut, which I'm going to also assume that the instructions are going to show that the screw is going to go into a nut. So if you don't have a screw calibrator or a measuring calibrator to tell you what sizes are what in terms of millimeters, at least for your screws, it's going to be pretty easy to figure out. Okay, when I was assembling this, I forgot to turn on my microphone. So let me try to explain to you what I did. I did not glue this piece in, but I did glue this piece onto here, and I did glue this onto that little nub right there. Then once the glue was dry, I took the screw, went all the way through here, and then I screwed it into the brake disc. So when I was done, this is what I have, looking like that. It's a fiddly piece to put on, but you definitely want to make sure that before you do any screwing, that this is glued in solid to this. Because if you don't, this is going to move and you're going to mess up your assembly. Okay, so still on step 5, been working on the chain. As you can see here, I have painted it in the colors that it's asking for in the instructions. And I also added a little bit of Tamiya clear to this because I want to add a little bit of panel liner for weathering, and also I'm going to add probably a little bit of weathering powders to this. So let me get that going, come back, and I'll show you what the end result looks like. Okay, so here's my chain. I didn't do a lot of weathering on it. I didn't go too crazy. The only thing I used was Tamiya black panel liner to bring out the shadowing and the details of the chain and also of the gears. But I didn't do a lot. I just did just a very little bit. But that's my chain. I did make a mistake on this though. What I didn't do was, you see this grommet that's right back down in there, which is this piece right here. I didn't make sure that it was flush to the other side, which is very important because you're going to need this deep cavity right here, this crevice, that's going to accommodate the lug that's on the back of your chain, so that when you attach your chain to the back, it's going to look just like that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you don't make the same mistake I did. It's very easy to correct. All you have to do is just remove your brake disc by unscrewing your screw, which is this right here, and then pushing that all the way through. Now what I did do to make sure it goes all the way through is that I glued it in. And if I didn't glue it in, it was always popping itself out. So that's now glued in, flush to the other side, and now I can get my chain on. Now after I was able to make that correction, I got my chain to go on, looking just like that. Now, because I am using an aftermarket chain, this is not the chain that came with the kit, I had to take a 1/8 drill bit and increase the hole, or widen the hole on the back here, in order to get it to go over the screw head that's on this side from this screw. But that's our chain, looking like that. Okay, now next we work on our shock absorber, which is this piece right here, these three pieces right here, and it's pretty simple to do. It is a little fiddly. It's going to be a little bit difficult for me to show you this on camera because the camera's in the way, but simply all you need to do is just push or slide in your spring like that. Push the spring back a little to expose this notch that's right there at the top of the spring. And then fix this in this way, this piece here, over that notch. And when you get that piece in at the very top of the spring, that's how that should look. Now it's a little bit difficult to do because you have to push that spring back while at the same time trying to get that little part to go in through that slot or the groove that's on this part right here. But once it's in place, it all holds in pretty well and you don't have to really glue it. I didn't glue mine in. It's in there pretty tight and snug, and I don't think glue is really needed. Now there is a lug right here, right there, and that lug is going to fit into the slot that's on our piece right here, right there. So with your part looking like this, you take this piece here looking like this way around, push it through here, and then line it up with that slot right there underneath. And that's your spring and shock absorber in place. And that completes step 5. Okay, so here we are at the end of step 5. This build does have 15 steps to it, so we're not even halfway done yet. So look for another video that will be coming out soon, and we'll be starting on step 6, and we'll see how far we get in that video. But other than that, I really do hope that you enjoyed this video, that you found it both entertaining and informative, and that you'll give me a thumbs up. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you can be notified of new videos that I posted. Other than that, always have fun in your garage, your workshop, or wherever it is that you build your models. And until next time, thanks for watching.